Hello everyone, welcome back. Tom with Capo Fetish. Today I'm going to respond to a community thread called Concerts of a Lifetime by Low Noise Jason Skills, and I also saw Fitz Electric Bar do the same thread. We pick 10 to 15 of your favorite concerts of all time that you've seen. Not an easy thing to do. I've seen hundreds of concerts throughout my lifetime, but there are those ones that stick out in your head. So these are the ones I'm going to feature. So I've picked 10 concerts. I'm going to start off here with number 10. This is a show that I saw back on March 15th, 1981 at a place called the Country Club in Reseda, California. It was a club smack dab in the middle of the San Fernando Valley. And it was a great place to see shows back in the early 80s for people who lived in the valley who didn't want to, go off into LA. So anyway, the first show I'm going to mention here, I saw on March 15th, 1981. And it was this group called U2 promoting an album called Boy. I got the ticket from my brother who worked at Warner Brothers at the time. He said, "You want to go see this band?" I'm like, "Sure." I only heard of the song I Will Follow. And I think he gave me the album Boy. And I listened to it a little bit. I wasn't totally into it yet. Not until I saw the show. So here's my ticket stub from that show. See, it says the Country Club, but I had to write U2 on it because they didn't feature band members or band names on tickets back then at this particular place. So anyway, a group called the Rubber City Rebels opened the show. They were kind of a pseudo-punk garage band, and then the lights dimmed, and I think the place was pretty packed, almost sold out. A lot of the K-Rock crowd were there, because that's really where U2 was getting their exposure at that time, was on K-Rock, not KLOS or KMET or all the local rock stations. So the curtain came down, and for the next band, U2, rose, and the stage was totally blue. They opened up with the song The Ocean. It was totally magical. Then they went right into the song called A Day Without Me, and from there on, it was just, they just sucked me in, man. The whole audience, slowly but surely, was really responding to them. At first, they didn't know how to respond to U2 because they weren't a punk band. They weren't a band to really slam to or do a mosh pit with, but yeah, I mean, they played every song off Boy. They even played some singles that weren't on the album, like Boy Girl and Things to Make and Do, this instrumental that The Edge did. But I was just knocked out by the performance, knocked out by the guitar sound and Bono's performance. And, they were still a very young band, a very hungry band. They're nothing like what they turned out to now. In these day and age, they almost sound like a Vegas band now. But they were young, hungry. They were still in their late teens. Larry Mullen looked like he was literally 16 years old at the time. They looked very young, but the energy was just, infectious. And it ended up turning me into a huge fan for the next couple of years. I loved their first 3 albums. Loved Boy. I still think it's one of the great debut albums of all time. So that show just blew me away because I didn't know what to expect. I was surprised by the whole presentation, everything that happened. So that was one of them. Next show I saw, next one, number 9, was David Bowie at the Wiltern on February 3rd, 2004. Neither of us in the crowd knew that this would be his last tour. He was promoting the Reality album, but it was just amazing when he walked on stage. It was like some kind of prophet walking onto the stage. The way the crowd was reacting, he opened up with Rebel Rebel, and it was a great career-spanning set list. He did stuff from Low, did a couple things from Lodger. He ended the show with the two-way punch of Suffragette City and Ziggy Stardust, but he was just in fine form, very suave and debonair. The backup band, of course, was just stellar. So that was another just fantastic show. Number 8 was, I saw this show on May 12th, 2000 at the Santa Barbara Bowl. That was James Brown. Even this late in the game, James Brown still had it going. He had everybody up on his feet. It was just unbelievable energy happening. Sold out show. He still had some of the moves down. He ended the show with, I believe it was almost like a 15-minute version of Sex Machine. And just incredible show. I'm so glad I got to see him at least once. So that was another great one. Another great show was back on November 1st, 1994 at the House of Blues in Hollywood. And that was the band Big Star. They reformed with Alex Chilton think this was one of the few times they reformed. And they had the two guys from the Posies backing him up, and it sounded just amazing. They had Jody Stevens on drums. They did songs from #1 record, Radio City. They did a few off of Big Star Third. And I think one of the highlights of that show is them doing Big Black Car. And the way Alex Chilton sung it was just like, gave chills right up your spine. It was amazing. Another show was at the Greek Theater on Friday, October 20th, 2000. That was Radiohead. First time I ever saw Radiohead, and they were promoting Kid A. It's like a short little West Coast tour. And a friend of mine, we ended up sitting way in the back, and we had to do a lot to get these tickets. And, I won't go into it, but we had to spend a lot of money and offer other things as well to get these tickets. We were working at a place at a time where we were getting like gift certificates. So we had to offer gift certificates along with money to get these tickets, to bribe the guy to give us these tickets. So anyway, an incredible show. It took a while for me to get into the Kid A album, but the songs on Kid A sounded even better live. They opened up with the national anthem, and then they went into, I believe, In Limbo. And the songs that stuck out, of course, the best for me were the songs from Kid A and the Bends. I remember just an amazing version of Paranoid Android and My Iron Lung. And I remember them doing some songs that were later to be featured on Amnesiac, like the Pyramid Song. It was just a really magical show. Really, really all over the place musically. And what it really, really struck me was just how amazing the sound was. The mix, the sound, it was just, you could hear everything really clearly, and they were just dead on. The musicianship was just dead on. So really amazing show, Radiohead at the Greek in 2000. Another great show was Al Green at the House of Blues on January 1st, 2000. What a way to kick off the millennium, huh? And he was just amazing, just so much charisma. I remember him throwing flowers out into the audience to the ladies, and just doing an incredible greatest hits type of show, doing Let's Stay Together and Tired of Being Alone, etc., etc. It was just amazing, soulful show, and it was just a great way to kick off the millennium on January 1st, 2000. Another great show I saw was the reunion of Buffalo Springfield at the Santa Barbara Bowl on June 8th, 2011. You know, usually reunion shows are kind of 50-50, but having Neil Young in there and Stephen Stills and Richie Furay and a couple of really great backup members, oh my God, it was incredible. They opened up with On the Way Home, one of my favorite Buffalo Springfield songs. But the highlight for me was Mr. Soul, when Neil Young went into his solo. Oh my God, it was just explosive. And it was just a great, the only shortcoming of the show was them ending with Rockin' in the Free World. It just didn't really sit with the Buffalo Springfield catalog, but you know, they could have easily ended it with For What It's Worth, but no complaints, no complaints. It was a great show, one of my favorite bands. Another great show, oh my God, was Friday, May 5th, 1989 at the Hollywood Palladium, The Replacements. This was a mind-blowing show. They were promoting their most commercial record, Don't Tell a Soul, on this tour. But man, this was a, you know, there's people that talk about, oh, there were bad replacement shows, and if you were lucky, you'd see a good one. Well, we saw a really good one that night. I mean, they were the best rock and roll band in town that night, I'll tell you. They opened with Color Me Impressed off the Hootenanny album, and from then on, it was just one rocking tune after another for about an hour and a half, playing tons of stuff off Tim, Let It Be, Pleased to Meet Me. I remember towards the end of the show, it was like, I mean, I've never been to a show where I'm standing in the balcony and I'm sweating. I'm just drenched. The whole crowd below was moshing the whole time. I felt like there was not an ounce of air in the entire place. The Hollywood Palladium's never been known for its ventilation, should we say. But, I mean, we were just standing there, not even moving, just hanging off the balcony, sweating our asses off. But what an amazing show. Paul Westerberg was just on fire that night. Yeah. Great, great show. Replacements at the Hollywood Palladium, May 5th, 1989. Another show that was really, really important to me as far as like starting a band and, you know, playing music and everything was seeing the first REM show at the Hollywood Palladium on Friday, June 22nd, 1984. This was kind of a life-changing gig for me. The Dream Syndicate opened for them. I think they were promoting the Medicine Show. I think that's what the album was called. But yeah, REM. Michael Stipe was sitting on a stool. Earlier in the day, he was out in the Pacific Ocean, and I guess he was bit by a jellyfish, so his leg was in a bandage. So he was just on a stool. He had his long hair, and the rest of the band were just rocking. And the whole the stage the whole time was darkly, very, very dark, just very like kind of moody colors like greens and blues, and it just had this really kind of mystique quality to it. And they opened up with Harbor Coat off of Reckoning, because they were promoting the Reckoning album. And they played just about everything from Murmur, a few things off Chronic Town, a few things that were later to become off of Fables of the Reconstruction. But I don't know, this show just really changed me. There was no mosh pit. People were just there. They were just listening to the music. It was an amazing experience. And I became a huge REM fan after this and saw them later the next year at the Greek, and then again at the Greek and Pacific Amphitheater. But yeah, this was a life-changing show for me. But I think the most life-changing show for me of all time was seeing this band at the Universal Amphitheater, the Kinks, 1979. August 17, 1979, here's the original ticket stub. This is about the third concert I ever saw in my entire life. The other first two were the Kinks. I saw the Kinks at the Santa Monica Civic in 77. Saw them at the Greek. No, they saw them at the, what was it? The Universal Amphitheater in 78 during the Misfits tour. But this one, it was different. They didn't have the horn section like they did during the, you know, the RCA years. They were back to just being like a rock and roll band. And they came out, and it was just absolute rock and roll at its finest. They opened up with Sleepwalker. Remember, these smoke bombs went off when they hit the stage. They did it before Sleepwalker. They came out and they did this kind of, like they do on One for the Road, they opened up with this kind of medley of You Really Got Me, like an instrumental. But from Sleepwalker on, they had everybody in the entire place on their feet for the entire rest of the show. Dave Davies was on fire, rocking that Les Paul. And even though it wasn't one of my favorite albums, Sleepwalker, Low Budget, I have to say that that energy and that charisma that Ray Davies has live, everybody felt it that night. He had us all in the palm of his hand. They did songs from Sleepwalker. They did a few from Misfits. A lot of the show was songs from Low Budget. Of course, they did the hits. You Really Got Me All Day and All the Night. I think in the middle, there was a little bit of a medley acoustic section where Ray came out and he did Sunny Afternoon and A Well-Respected Man. But I just remember just being absolutely enthralled by the performance. I was only 14 years old at the time. I was very impressionistic, so I don't know. It was just, this one will always go down in my head as one of my favorite shows of all time. It was just incredible. I was already a huge Kinks fan at that point, and just seeing my idols up there was surreal. You know, back in those days, you know, you didn't have any internet, you didn't have any MTV. All you really had was the record, and if you saw them live, it was just an amazing thing. You know, it was like, there was such a mystique to the whole live presentation, you know, to actually see your heroes on stage performing. You know, you hear the records and then you see them on stage. It was really magical, just amazing. So yeah, the Kinks at the Universal Amphitheater on August 1779 remains one of my most treasured shows of all time. And there you go. Those are my favorite 10. I could have picked probably 10 or 20 or 30 more, but those ones kind of stuck out in my head. So there it is. There's my favorite concerts of a lifetime. And if you have any things to put in the comment section, let me know. Thanks for watching. Please press subscribe. Take care, everybody. Bye.